Yes. Yes. Welcome into the Tim McKernan Show, QFTA Daily.
Good to be here, Tim.
Thank you. January 9th, 2024, from the Longo Biggs studios. Longo Biggs online at longobigs.com. Thank you to Mark Hanna of Evergreen Wealth Strategies, evergreenstl.com. Thank you to Seth Goldcamp, Designer Heating and Cooling, online at designerservice.com. Thank you to Munganast, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota. That's Jamie Burkhardt, Clayton Patterson, Peter Munganast, and Ryan Seiberg, online at stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com. James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, online at carltoninsurance.net. All of these sponsors make this possible. What are you going to do about it? What you going to do? What you going to do?
Enjoy their generosity.
Nice. I like that.
I think that was the right way to retort there. Feeling good. Feeling great.
Oh, really? Oh, what's going on with you that's got you all chipper?
Well, I just in general, another day, another dollar, another chance to be great.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Wake up with a smile.
I mean, we've already done TMA. We've already done Balloon Party, and you're feeling it today.
Oh, yeah. Yes, feels good. Feels good to be, doing what I enjoy to do, getting paid to do it. Not a bad way to go about life.
Wow. Did you spend some time with your friend of the feather last night?
No. Just positive outlook is kind of what is kind of my modus operandi.
Look at you.
Recent. Positive outlook.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I like where we are, and I have lined up 3 emails in advance today because now they're coming in, and they're coming in fast and furious with the daily QFTAs, and so I'm lining them up, Jack. I'm lining them up.
And we'll knock them down.
And then we'll line them up and we'll knock them down. Here we go. Let me go. Let's see. I got to retweet what Jackson has sent out on. Let's see. I'll send out a picture of Totem and Larry Nickel in a GIMP mask on the Twitter tweets.
Always works. It just always works.
All right. Now I am in my email. And by the way, hey, why don't you, while we're doing this, go to the TMA fan page on Facebook and see the new last that I posted and see if you're a fan and you'd like to become her friend.
It's 11/11. Make a wish. Tee-hee. Let's take a look. You see a picture of Iggy holding Legos and then, okay. Nice little side action there and an apron. Nothing like a domestic pic like this one. Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Isn't she?
Yeah.
I just discovered her. Let me tell you what her name is. It's Diora Baird.
Diora what? Baird?
Baird. B-A-I-R-D.
Baird. Okay.
That's right.
That's,
Oh, you're not a big fan. God, sorry. Sorry, I can't rise to your standards. Fuck off.
No, she's flat out gorgeous. There's tough.
All right, rank Ella Reese, Abigail Mack, and Diora Baird. In order, please.
I'll go Ella Reese 1.
Wow, you're on the Ella Reese train now.
Yeah, Diora Baird. Diora? Am I saying that right? Diora?
I think so.
Yeah, Christian Dior.
Oh, and you go Abigail Mack 3.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'd go.
Wow.
I really don't. I'm put to the test.
Put the man to the test.
Diora, I think, is on the verge of getting into the stag industry. I spot these early, and then I forward them to Caden and Manuel.
She's not, based on that picture?
She's not. She is actually a former... That was nicely done.
Thank you.
She was. Have you watched any of the Cobra Kai series on Netflix with the wonderful Ralph Macchio and William Zabka?
I hear really good things about it.
It's won awards.
Yeah, I hear really
good
things. So
she's actually on that. She was a mainstream actress in a few movies, never like a main.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and she needed cash, and she's gone OnlyFansing, and she hasn't done any hardcore yet.
Okay, a lot of solo work.
But yes, that's exactly right.
Got it.
But it seems like she might be on the verge. Like once you start playing "Hey Diddle Diddle,"
yeah, that's you're in the waiting room.
Yeah, at that point you're on the green, and now we have her putter out.
Oh, she was in Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, how about that?
Role.
No,
Nice.
she wasn't. She wasn't the main.
She wasn't Rachel McAdams,
right?
Yeah, I mean she's done plenty of work.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, a lot of TV too. Listen. Gotta pay the bills somehow, baby.
That's my credo.
I ain't never gonna hate on anyone's hustle.
So Diora Baird is up on the TMA fan page, and I have 3 emails in the holster here. Let's see what I wrote. QFTA Live is about to get underway with me and Jackson Burkett. Today, a listener is unhappy with criticism of MMFs as opposed to the less popular MFF, as he wants to see his partner orgasm. Another listener wants to know about off-the-record conversations and how and why they get brought up. And a final question from a gentleman resisting posting pictures to social media, believing it's a brag. There you go. Those are the topics. Wow. So I got them all lined up.
Wow.
Kind of going with a different thing. By the way, I was on the phone with James Carlton yesterday. He referenced it for those of you who listened to TMA earlier today. James Carlton has made it clear. Not only is he a big fan of QFTA, he said it's his favorite show of the ones we do, as we have expressed. Yeah. And he goes, man, he goes, every day, he goes, I find myself doing extra dishes just so I can continue to listen. Is daily too much QFTA? Let's examine it.
You're saying oversaturation?
Not oversaturation, but I mean, is the significance of QFTA kind of like, okay, it's 2 hours once a week or an hour and a half once a week and then doing it daily? I don't know. I mean, I just did this on a whim last Tuesday, I guess a week ago, just on a total whim. It wasn't like something I was thinking over the break, like, oh, I want to do, like, it's just kind of like, I like doing it.
Yeah.
I found, as I said last week, I don't know. It's like hitting golf balls for me, except I can't do that, at least outside at this time of year. It's kind of meditative for me.
Yeah.
Because on Balloon Party, while I talk more on Balloon Party than TMA, I'm still kind of coloring inside the lines. Like
there's a box.
Yeah.
There's a box you gotta be in.
And this is just like, this is it. If they said, hey, 30-year deal, I'd go, okay.
Yeah.
I did. I don't know if I'll make it, but I'll take it because I would do this. 30 years more TMA, I don't know. 30 years Balloon Party, I don't know. 30 years this, I could do it. But then is doing it daily? I don't know.
Here's where I'm at.
Okay, tell me. I need you because I know you're going to be honest with me.
Absolutely.
I've never felt like you've passionately gone up against me, and I wonder about that with you.
But if I don't feel passionately about something, I'm just going to do it.
What about Dan Orlowski? What would he do?
Right, and I apologize to our Take Smith laureate, but I'll pivot off of him and saying, putting myself in the consumer's shoes. If my favorite podcast, whatever it is, which is weekly, went to daily, I don't think I would listen to the entirety of every single episode, but week by week, I would listen to more of it. And I would be happy.
I see what you're saying. I follow you.
Because I would be happy that they're doing more because I love the podcast.
Like if this is the only show I did.
Yeah, that would be different.
Different deal.
Yeah, that would be different.
But see, at this point, like also, since we started doing it, there really hasn't been a big local sports topic.
No. Nothing of like.
That would like warrant, like, okay, like one of the things I've thought about doing, not that it's neither here nor there, but I have ideas for, I guess, other ventures, for lack of a better term, but nothing at this moment is, it would, hey, I want to go deeper into this. We talked a little bit about it on 101 or on TMA, so
there hasn't been a story like that.
Right. And hey, when you have an NHL team and a baseball team and then an XFL team and an MLS team and you don't have the NFL and NBA, it isn't,
playing little brother to an extent.
A little bit.
To an extent.
Yeah.
And I mean no disrespect.
Yeah, I don't know if any Balloon Party listeners are sniping.
But as a consumer, I'd be happy with it.
Let's see what Mr. Smith says. I'm in the YouTube chat. You can get in there, youtube.com/TMASTL. This is the best of the platforms as far as I'm concerned. I love them all. Wow, another endorsement for QFTA. I will be sending in an erotic story with a twist, Mr. Smith says. Eric Bishop says she's even more popular in Europe. I don't know if that's in reference to Jiminy Glick or Diora Baird, who I believe is from Southern California or South Florida, which probably isn't all that surprising.
Here, Miami, Florida.
Okay. Mr. Smith says, if you enjoy doing it and have the time, why not? Well, I mean, like tomorrow, for example, we will not be doing this at this time tomorrow. I have a lunch with the great Jeff Lotman, jefflotman.com. Tomorrow, I think I apparently had a sound story on Thursday, and I didn't know it, but Peter Repp emailed me during TMA. I got to get back to him. And then I know we have a sales meeting on Friday. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I'd be better or worse or the same when I'm doing this from my house. My 2-year-old, near 2-year-old, he'll be 2 in a few weeks, he comes down and he's either hitting golf balls or hockey pucks at all times in the basement, and he watches The Outfield's Your Love about 25 times a day.
It's a great song.
And now he's watching Beat It as well, And then Dreams by Van Halen.
He's got good taste.
So I had a call when James called me yesterday. He didn't say anything because he's just like a nice guy. I would have said something because I'm not, but he could hear my younger son screaming in the background, song, song, song. I know means outfield, your love. So I said, hey, I'm sorry, man. Just give me a minute to put the outfield back on for the 40th straight time. But I don't know how that would play. I don't know if my wife would really enjoy it if I said, hey, I'm going to be downstairs talking about threesomes for the next 2 hours. Keep the boys away.
Well, you know.
But you know what? Hey,
thank
you, Jackson. Good for you. You are ready for marriage.
This is how Dad makes a sausage.
Exactly. Hunchback of Von Castle says, I'd skip Friday QFTAs. It's probably the day I podcast the least amount of content overall. Callus Coitus says, I believe daily is best. Since this is starting to become regular, it allows for more opportunities for more viewers. I'd wait to garner more viewers to make alterations, but that's just me. It's about downloads, the viewers thing. That's just, I'm not
gravy.
going, we got 24 people watching. We've made it. I'll get the real estate agent to start looking in Huntley. This is kind of like an added facet. The YouTube is not what it's about. It's about the downloads. Time permitting, family comes first, Mr. Smith. Diora Baird was a play on the drop. Thank you. Well done, Eric Bishop. And keep up the daily, and you could do a weekly, monthly best of pot. So there's the feedback on the dailies. Either way, I thought that was something that was intriguing from James Carlton, but nothing is more intriguing than this, and this is our first email for today. You can always email, and anything is welcome. What was my last bounty for the hate email? $150?
Was it that high?
I think I got to $150.
All right. Well.
But you have to use a real email account.
Yeah.
Like if you're obsessed with me, which is great, you've made me a lot of money, and I want to watch this. Thank you for your obsession. I'd prefer just to be a private citizen making a nice living, but this is the life I've chosen. This is the career I've chosen. Hyman Roth.
This is the life I've chosen. I think. Shirtless. You have to say that shirtless.
You have to say shirtless. So whatever the obsession, it comes with the territory. But if you're obsessed but hate, that's fine. That's great. I will Venmo you $150, but have the balls to send an email from a non-burner, and then you'll just get the $150, assuming that it can piss me off. I guess that, but some people are like, it's not worth you knowing because we actually interact, and now you know how much I hate you,
right,
or at least obsessed hate with you.
Yeah, and you're gonna do that.
But it's $150.
Right. Well, I don't know if people want to sell that. I don't know.
It kind of puts a price on the anonymity.
Yeah, we might have set the market for it.
Well, I tip my cap to this one because this was sent from a real email address, and this may be #controversial. Hi, Mr. Tim, paleface, period.
Nice.
Hi, Mr. Tim, period, paleface, period. Long-time listener, period, frequent texter, period, please don't use my name, period. And of course, what will you do, Jackson? We'll respect that. I've had this thought when listening to callers to TMA talk about enjoying threesomes with two women, but never consider one with another guy. I've had threesomes. Only the MFM, okay, fine, MMF variety so far. Whoa. Okay, hold on a second.
One more time.
Thank you.
Run that back.
I've had threesomes, period. Only the MFM ... Okay, fine, MMF variety.
Okay.
He changed it from MFM, which would mean no interaction between the gentlemen, to okay, fine, MMF variety so far.
So there are two options, I think.
What do we have going on here?
Option one.
It's a breaking ball. This was sent while we were balloon partying, too.
Option one is that what you just presented, that it wasn't an MFM, it was an MMF, where there was some interplay between the two gentlemen, or it is a commentary on us discussing yesterday that we just call it an MMF, even though that's not necessarily what it actually is.
And hey, you know what? If he's enjoying a gentleman in his mouth, you know what we say on this podcast? That's great to hear.
I say, God bless America.
That's right. But I'm not sure if that's what he was saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with option two.
And the thing is, maybe he's watching. I'm getting emotional in the YouTube chat. It's so great to have an email about men using their hands on each other that it's it's got me
Okay.
watching the final 5 minutes of Rudy now.
Maybe the rest of the
He's
email.
probably not going to pop in and say, hey, that's me, and no. So that's the thing. All right, so No, I glanced at it. That's how I knew to tease it, but I didn't catch this. Only the MFM. Okay, fine. MMF variety so far. If a guy can brag that his woman likes watching him rail another woman, why can't a guy say he likes watching his girl get taken to Pound Town? What's the difference? Oh, you have to exert your dominance? Too manly? Please, it's ridiculous. You're probably afraid you'll like the other guy or something. Okay, hold on again. Well, I did. Like during commercial break, I read it. I'm like, oh, good. We got an MMF email again. This is becoming like the theme of the podcast.
The amount of periods had me a little concerned.
Yeah, well, that's how it's like, hi, Mr. Tim, period, pale face, period. So there's a lot of those. Okay, I got to go back again. What's the difference? Oh, you have to exert your dominance, question mark, too manly, question mark, please, period. It's ridiculous, period. You're probably afraid you'll like the other guy or something, period.
Okay, periods are meant to represent the end of a complete sentence. So let's tighten her up.
If somebody sends in what would fall under the umbrella of erotic story, even though we're not necessarily getting a story here, we're getting confused. I don't want to chastise the grammar. I want to make sure I'm conveying the thought properly. I enjoy when my partner orgasms. That's the title of today's podcast.
100%. That's a tweet that you send out for like bait.
Maybe I should send that out right now and just see what happens.
Yep. Under like your Dem Off Sucks tweet or something. Get people
I enjoy when my partner orgasms. It doesn't have to be me causing it. Mission accomplished either way. Also, period. It's going to bother Jackson, but I have to.
Just a comma would be used there.
If you haven't gotten oral from a woman who is getting it good from the other direction, you're letting the finer things in life pass you by. Was that Steve Winwood, Doug? Jackson needs a backup.
I got back.
There's a lot going on today's QFTA banner day on January 9th, 2024.
Can you back just from the also period?
Right.
Can you start read again, please?
Yep, no problem. I'm happy to do it.
Thank you.
Also, period, if you haven't gotten oral from a woman who is getting it good from the other direction, comma, well, you're letting the finer things in life pass you by, period. It doesn't make me a cuck or simp, doesn't make me gay. Thanks to the Daily Pods, boys. No name.
Okay.
Although I can see the name, and I believe this person has written in, whether it be to TMA or QFTA in the past. This is not like Tim fucking sucks anal 24, you know.
Truth hurts 2730.
Right. So, I think, all right, I'm analyzing this. I wish I could communicate with this person. I think he was making light of the MMF thing from yesterday. I think. I don't think he was saying, I occasionally, dabble. Right, with a gentleman. But if he is, you know what we say? That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, it's strong.
All right. Because we don't kink shame.
Never.
Or sexual orientation shame or curiosity shame or whatever. But taking that out of the equation, still a rare public sentiment, albeit anonymously, that he is engaging in an MMF and is fine if his significant other experiences pleasure from another source.
Yeah.
Now, I also am fine with that. I'm just on a mission to find it. Okay, I'm fine with it and looking to find it.
Mm-hmm.
My fun is from the past, and as I've made reference to before recently, if I were to engage in a threesome now, it would just be a bunch of broken people in bed.
Yeah.
At this point, you at 25, people peaking, still working your way up Everest, still have another couple base camps before you achieve the summit.
Yeah.
At this point in my life, there's probably a number of kids and custody battles and family attorneys involved.
I call that baggage.
That's exactly what it is, actually.
I call that baggage.
And I'd have to think back to my wonderful days, years gone by, and the pure joy I felt when I would wake up versus what I would feel now if this were to happen. Yeah. On top of that, it could never happen at my home. Yeah. I mean, that would be awkward.
Certainly. What is it? Outfields your love with the
blaring in the background.
That's hot.
Yeah, I just put it on a loop. Yeah, I guess I agree that this. Well, we actually talked about this after we did yesterday's show.
It's a double standard.
It's 100% double standard.
Yeah.
Because if a gentleman was to be with two women, it's like, oh yeah. And then if a woman is to be with two guys, she is slut shamed.
Yeah.
And that is wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The total agreement with what this gentleman said. If that's what you're comfortable with, no one's going to, like, if you're comfortable and you communicate with your wife that it's totally cool that you experience pleasure from another source, then it's not a cuckold. It's just two partners practicing quality communication. Now, if you don't communicate beforehand and do that, now some issues could arise. So I don't
Gotta communicate.
Got to.
You can't, let me tell you something. Okay. If you're having a threesome, foursome, whatever you got going on, I feel like one of the most important rules is you can't then start doing something behind your, even a text or a DM. That as weird as that may sound, the penetration is not the violation. The penetration is not the violation. But direct messaging without the other person knowing, I would consider that a violation.
Yeah.
As weird as that may sound to those who have not partaken.
Yeah, because if you break down that communication barrier where you're talking about things like this.
That, to me, is conveying a healthy relationship.
Right.
As weird as that's so counterintuitive, I'm sure, to a lot of people.
Sure.
I mean, listen, it's like I envy people who are religious. Like, who really, have thought through it and arrived. They're not necessarily, dogma religion. I envy that because they are going through life thinking something that I am not thinking. And I really wish I had that, truly. I also, if this exists, I'm actually more bullish on there being a supreme being than this existing, and that is somebody going through their life never wanting to sleep with somebody else. I just can't imagine that is like a real thing. I also know nobody ever publicly stated. Well, not nobody, because I will, but few people will.
Right. Outside yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all bullshit.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not buying stock in either one of them. But if I had to buy one, I'll take the religion one over the monogamy one. Let me go there. Wow. I'm just endearing myself to the people of the Midwest.
Yeah, you are.
I am really at a point where I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Y'all motherfuckers hate me anyway. Can't get enough, though.
Yeah. The communication barrier, if you break that down enough where you're having conversations about getting pleasure from someone else, but then you kind of sneak around the back and then do something without communication.
I'd have a problem with that.
That's even greasier than just doing it outright, because you've already communicated. Why not just communicate, hey,
I agree with that.
I want to send this person a DM. Okay, now we can have a conversation.
Right.
We've already had a conversation about possibly suspending monogamy. Why wouldn't you just have a conversation about this?
That's when you get into a problem.
Right. It's almost worse than just doing it outright without communication on anything.
Your buddy Noah WK?
Good guy.
Says, Burke once again bringing solid MMF takes.
Yeah.
Someone should start kink shaming these deviants. This show is more of a safe space or same space than r/bang my wife. Is that a Reddit reference?
It's a nice Reddit thread reference from my boy Noah. And he's damn right.
What does it say? Is there something the same space? Was that a miss?
I assume safe space.
Okay.
He's a smart guy.
Well, we don't kink shame.
No, never have, never will. I won't.
But Noah WK wants you to kink shame.
Well, he can want all of it. I'm not gonna compromise my morals. Not for him or anyone else.
Kwame Voyukas IV says, very brave, Tim. Thank you for having the courage to speak up. I don't know what it was that I said a bunch of shit right there, and I don't know what Kwame Voyukas IV.
Screenshot that and make it your Twitter banner.
I think I might, actually. I'd have to update. My Twitter picture, somebody who wrote the Post-Dispatch, I don't know if he wants his name out there, neither here nor there, but he posted on the TMA fan page an article that he did.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
From, I guess at this point, close to 20 years ago, that he did on the Morning Grind in a segment we did called Hoosiers and Hummers. And I don't even know how the hell it happened. I don't know how that segment happened.
Yep.
And the picture in that article, which was done in either 2004 or 2005, is still, I believe, my Twitter picture.
That's pretty good.
But then at the same time, I realized, well, my Facebook profile picture is me and my pregnant wife with my now near 2-year-old son still sitting in her womb.
Yeah. That story edited.
Shows how much I do a lot of
that's
profile picture updating.
That story you referenced, edited by one Ellen Foderman.
That's right. Yeah.
My mom edited that story. Commissioned it, probably, yeah.
Sought it out.
Yeah.
Let's see.
She knew.
Vrabel with the short haircut?
Mike
Was that like a Mike Vrabel take in the YouTube chat?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, got let go.
Oh, really?
I guess that's what that means, right?
Oh, short haircut. Okay, I thought he actually got his haircut short.
It was already pretty.
Yeah, I was gonna say
high and tight.
Wow. Yeah. Well.
Let's see. Carlos Spicy Wiener's in the YouTube chat, and to me, he automatically gets read.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I see some candidates that fit your description of, quote, soon to be broken at the bar of your, quote, unrelatable club. Typically when celebrating, we're getting a little too...
a little too deep.
Get a little too...
Yeah, in too deep.
Yeah, I gotta bail Carlos on that one, but I appreciate
Still
it.
Hall of Famer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and probably should win an award for the post, but I just got to be careful myself. All right, so Jackson, any other conclusions here? I feel like I need a follow-up. I almost gave the person's first name. I need a follow-up.
Yeah.
I don't really think that the big takeaway from it is that he's engaging with gentlemen. It's that he's like, yeah, I like MMFs, and fuck off if you don't like them.
Cool by
but again, who's kink shaming? Not I said the fly, not Jackson.
No.
As a matter of fact, you are being shamed for not kink shaming by Noah WK.
Yeah.
And he's accusing you of being unreddit.
Well, I mean, that has nothing to do with anything. But, it's someone asking me to kink shame just stokes the fire of me not wanting to kink shame. So, mission not accomplished, my guy.
All right, I just screenshot Kwame Boy who gets the
It's got to be your Twitter banner. Yep.
God, can
so
you
people
imagine?
people know about your character before they even read a single tweet.
Oh, God almighty. All right, let's see. All right, question 2. Howdy. I was wondering if you would discuss. This was sent also during Balloon Party. People do their best QFTA emailing while we're doing Balloon Party. Yeah. Howdy, I was wondering if you would discuss conversations being quote-unquote off the record when conducting an interview. I understand from an interviewee why they might want to provide additional context or nuance to how they are covered, but as someone who conducts interviews, wouldn't they feel manipulated? Perhaps I'm just taking... I'll answer that right away. The answer to that is no, but I'll continue to read and answer as we go. Perhaps I am just taking the negative view of something being off the record, but it definitely means the interviewee doesn't want their true feelings public. Doesn't the interviewer agree to that type of condition to build trust and credibility with a long game approach? I've also wondered if this is similar to when there are discussions about topics on the show where things are alluded to, but then comes the, but I won't mention names, shot at Iggy in his book, can't provide any details, etc. From my view, it's so frustrating to hear someone bring something up, but then not talk about it, and then have a lame excuse like that. Then why bring it up in the first place? I know on TMA some of this ends up for comedic effect. I know on TMA some of this ends up for comedic effect, but it frustrates me nonetheless, but spelled nonetheless. That's from Not Caller Adam. P.S. Again, I'm enjoying the show. I understand that I can see the paragraph break. The second one was more about like the TMA thing, and I get it. And if I were a listener, I would feel the exact same way. So I don't say you're wrong and I'm on the air and I'm right. And I agree. It's something that I may be more guilty of. I don't know. Whatever. I'm guilty. I am 100% guilty of. My reasoning for not bringing things up in full, God, it's even with answering the question, it's tough to answer the question because then it gets into why.
Yeah, why and what you can't talk about.
I guess I would hope, even if you really dislike me, and I think that's a lot of you watching and listening to every word I say, and it's quite a phenomenon, but like I said, I'm grateful for it. I'd like to think people believe me. I hope. I almost want that more than like, which is a weird thing.
Belief that what you're saying is genuine.
Genuine and true. Yeah. Because you can't possibly like every. It'd be weird if you like. I wouldn't want somebody to like every opinion I have, because then I'd be like, oh, you probably, it's kind of stalkery, Yeah. Although the hate comes with stalkery too. It's tough because the reason for it, for specifically for me and the things that I know I have avoided going into publicly. There is a significant potential downside that I think people in the listening audience can't possibly fathom. Is strange and bullshittish as that sounds. You lived a part of it, Jackson, but you didn't live most of it. And I'm not saying, hey, you can't possibly relate. I'm saying that just from a time standpoint. And also it also comes down to this: it's not worth it. So really, the sin is even talking about it at all. Right. But as is the case, sometimes like Carlos Spicy Winter did nothing wrong. Let me make that crystal clear here. But like, I'm not going to like mock a place that I'm kind of affiliated with, you know what I mean?
Right.
So sometimes people who like a Carlos Spicy Winter, which I just said, oh, Carlos Spicy Winter wrote in, I automatically read him, will bring something up, like Stephen Wildwood commissioned the sound story, or Iggy commissioned Stephen Wildwood commissioned the sound story.
Jury's still out on that one.
Right. Well, I think the jury's in. It's just we've kind of left it.
Might be hung.
And then what do we make it public or something like that? But then we took out a part because, and then Steve's like, well, I think everybody kind of know. And I'm like, oh, I don't think so. Yeah. And it's tough because even now it's like cryptic talk. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's that simple. We have moved on. All of that stuff, that particular situation is in the past. I suppose one thing that's a source of frustration for me individually, I think more so than anybody else on the show, actually, in a major way. But at the same time, I was privy to, I don't say everything, but I was privy to a lot because I had to be, is the audience on this one is off. And I know I could end it all and the audience go, oh my fucking God. And I would be lifted back up to heroic status like I was pre-2016. But again, even with that carrot out there, the juice isn't even close to worth the squeeze. It's not even it's not something I even debate. Iggy, when he talks about it, I have an idea of some of the people he's talking about. If I were Iggy, I would write a book. I really would, because I think he is such a, and I'm taking financial out of it. I have no idea what, like, if I were to write a book, what it would make. I have no idea. You could tell me any number, not any number, a floor number and a ceiling number, and I'd probably believe it within the realm of reason. Like, I don't think we're talking seven figures here. Let me put it that way. But I think Iggy could make a really nice amount of money, and I would absolutely read it. The thing for him is, I think he would acknowledge this. It's not fair in a way because he's not here. I think a lot of his is more personal than mine is. Mine is just kind of like, this happened, and here is why it happened. I know I'm not saying he would make things up. He just doesn't like a bunch of people. Yeah. My thing is like, well, this guy did this, and because some of this is like people that, I don't know. It's so this is why it's tough to talk about it. So that's why it goes back to, then you just don't bring it up in the first place, which is why Not Caller Adam is 100% right with regard to the second part on TMA. And I can't speak for Iggy or Plowhawk or Doug or you, but I can speak for myself, and I feel like it's a failure on my part anytime I do it, because if I'm an audience member, I'm like, well, then fucking say it. If you're going to bring it up, then fucking say it.
Right.
And it's different, like, because we obviously talk about Dan Marshall. We don't hold anything back there. Yeah. But that can kind of, then you go, well, then why do you guys do that, but you don't do the other one? And then you got to, and I'm not going to answer that question for you. Right. And so all that does is lead to speculation. But, and I sit here, and anytime Bert Kaufman comes up, and he just passed relatively recently, and I rave about how good of a man and businessman he was. Why does he do that? Well, I'm not lying here, so that's the thing. I leave an X equals question mark, and then it opens it up to speculation. And I am responsible for that. So that is my fault and no one else's. Nobody else on the show does that. I do that. But it's an absolute flaw. And if I were a listener, I would be irritated by it too. This, by the way, is totally different than the first part of the email, which is asking about off the record. Which is a totally different. This is this stuff that I experienced, and to a lesser extent, Doug experienced, and I guess about the same amount Iggy experienced and Plowboy experienced. None of it was off the record. It all happened. Right. I mean, in many of our cases, we have saved things from it, feeling like it may come back somehow, for real. Like my phone voicemail, you can't leave a voicemail, right? You can maybe leave one, because I still have so many, even though I know I could, export them and save them on a file. I just don't, because I save. I mean, it was not a good time, but we got through it, it was easily worse than the man and the woman thing was the moment that came out, it's like, oh my God. When it happened, I got on the phone with Dan and I go, hey, this isn't, I remember Kelly Chase called me to tell me about it. And I go, oh God, he thinks like he's going to get ratings on KFNS in 1380. That isn't going to happen. You could take your pick of whoever you think the greatest broadcasters are, Howard Stern, whomever, Jim Rome, whatever, Rush Limbaugh, it doesn't matter. Yeah. You can't get ratings on that station. That's not a shot at the people on the station. We've been on that station probably more than any other. It's the way that they're calculated, which I realize most of the audience doesn't know. But if you're going to be buying a station, you need to know that. And I said to Chase, I go, well, you need to tell him that he's going to lose a lot of money on this. He goes, I don't fucking, I go, okay, fine. I go, okay, I guess I'll talk with him. And it didn't matter because he was so convinced that the idea was going to be this. And I'm like, I couldn't really care any less because I'm going to go make probably more when I leave, but but I didn't really know him. And then it was so like, I don't know, condescending and kind of a know-it-all thing, kind of like a social media person who, but before really social media was, and I'm just like, okay, do it. Maybe you're right and I'm wrong. Fuck, I don't know. So, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Atlanta guys. So it's tough, but but I'm the one, I guess, and I guess Iggy, who will occasionally bring it up, but then not necessarily finish off like the details. But there is an absolute choice for that, yeah. And I think that Not Caller Adam's 100% right. It's like, well, if you're not going to tell the story, then don't bring it up. And I agree. But sometimes what I was trying to say with the Carlos Spicy thing and the Stephen Wild thing, sometimes people will bring it up, and then I guess I got to be more like when I interviewed Marcus Allen, and he would smoothly swat away questions. It was so brilliant because he knew what I was doing, and I knew what he was doing, but the audience may not have known that he was letting me know there was no way we were going to talk about him and Al Davis. And so on and so forth. I'm like, I need to be better at deftly handling, what could be spots where people could deal with unfortunate situations, and that would be an example of that. So I agree with Not Caller Adam, and it is my responsibility, no one else's, and that is on me. With regard to off-the-record interviews, off-the-record is not about being manipulated at all. I suppose it can be, but off-the-record oftentimes is super helpful in giving context, but you're not in a position to put your name on it. Now, on the other side of that, it can be used as a way to exercise a grudge. And that's dirty pool. It's like when somebody says, give me a social media, fucking whatever the term is, when somebody, criticizes someone. I can't remember. I feel like once you say it, I'm going to, when somebody lights up somebody. Oh,
like a mic drop?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that could be
dunking on people.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to get hatred for me, not that it's tough to find, but talk to some of my exes. Believe it or not, ex-girlfriends aren't big fans of their. I mean, that's just that's the way that it winds up working out. Ex-employees, man, you mad at? Well, I mean, there's a reason why we may have parted ways. Like, I don't just like spin a wheel,
Right.
But the employer is usually the bad guy because there's way more employees than there are employers. Right. When it comes to like a sports conversation, the information and context I got from Kevin Demoff, for example, put me on the right track on that thing. I don't know how many years, a number of years before they actually moved. And I don't know if when it's all said and done and I've done my last show, what it will be. I have no idea. But as far as TMA goes, if I'm asked what I'm most proud of that the show did as far as a topic goes, it would be being on top of the Rams situation from the get-go all the way until it ended, and never going, oh, they're not going to like us because we're saying this. Fuck off. If you're planning on moving and you're an NFL team and you've seen the effect it's had, I mean, we can talk about the Battlehawks and City. I'd like to think, but I think if we're being honest, if you were given the choice of having the Battlehawks and City or an NFL team, I think more people would say NFL team. Maybe I'm off the mark.
I think it'd be in the 80 percentile.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of people would say no just because they want to act like they're not hurt. But whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm very proud of that. And that was Doug. That was the cat. That was me. I don't know. I know that was producer Joe for part of it. Probably Sea Monster. Yeah. And getting the guests and being on it. And a lot of the audience didn't like it because it wasn't popular. Doesn't matter. If this is what's going on, we have to talk about. We can talk about the Rams winning the game. Okay, if they're moving, that's a much bigger story. And I feel like the show was on that. And we were on it in part because I was able to have these conversations with a variety of people, including Kevin Demoff, throughout the course of it. And that was all off the record. So I think off the record has value, but it's a double-edged sword. It can be used as a way to, like, anonymous sources are saying that this, and then it becomes like a gossip column and it's bullshit. Right. Jackson, any thoughts on any of this? I've been talking for the last 70 minutes.
No real thoughts on anything. I guess I'll just share a little anecdote. I watched in reference to talking about stuff like from former stations with TMA and stuff like that. I watched an interview with Paul Giamatti. It was either on GQ or Variety, detailing a lot of his major roles in films and TV. And he talked about his kind of debut in Private Parts.
Yeah,
where he plays
absolutely.
Pig Vomit.
Pig Vomit, sure.
And he's doing it. He's like, this character's such an ass. Like, this is so dumb. Like, this is crazy. Like, no one would act like this. And then Howard, like, in the middle of a take or right after a take was like, man, you're really nailing that guy. Like, you're doing it perfect. He goes, this is a real person? Like, he had no idea that he was portraying a real person.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
He had no idea. And then Giamatti said he had to do an interview with the real guy, the real Pig Vomit, on, like, some little station that he had moved on to.
I know. That guy went from NBC in New York to, like, it was a rough exit.
Giamatti goes, like, the worst interview I've ever done. It was terrible. He said it was really uncomfortable and I hated it.
Oh, God.
But he was like, there was no way.
Where can I see this? Can I watch this?
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago. It was obviously leading up to awards season, with the holdovers. But I think it's either GQ or Variety. He talks about, a lot of his big roles, Private Parts, Sideways, John Adams, Chuck Rhodes and Billions, and then obviously holdovers. Really good interview. Giamatti's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super introspective guy, too.
Droid Effects, balloon party guy.
Good guy.
Says, I'd rather have the NFL than MLS and UFL/XFL. Droid, as much as I like the doggies, I'm right there with you. Yeah, this isn't a shot.
No,
to be clear. I mean,
you like it all, theoretically.
Yeah, it's just, my point isn't what, do you want the MLS or XFL, UFL? It's about that was going on. Maybe it started before 2012, but certainly January 2012 when Jeff Fisher was announced.
Yeah.
And that audio is still there. We played Stan Kroenke. Doug, your reaction to Jeff Fisher being hired? Well, the Rams are going to move. That was, boom, right out of the gate. And from that point forward until January 2016, the show was on it with a variety of guests who were regulars on the show. Very, she used to be a Raiders executive, Amy.
I don't know.
Very sharp. I think it's Amy. She was on regularly. Jason LaCanfora.
Yeah. Sam Farmer.
We just
Bradshaw. I remember had the big
Yeah, that was I don't know that. That certainly got people going, right. But how informed was it? You know what I mean?
No, it seems more informed because he was right, but yeah, in the moment,
right?
How much information?
Yeah, that's like the fun guy at the table who goes, "Oh, fuck it, I got pocket sixes, I'll call." I don't know. I don't know if that was necessarily. Mr. Smith says, "Damn straight, anybody who didn't think they were going to leave were fooling themselves." And by the way, this isn't me saying, "And all the media in this town," I'm just saying it wasn't popular. I think for all of us on the show, I don't want to say we didn't care, but it was the same kind of thing as like now. Now is certainly more. I don't care is different than not caring. Don't care is like, okay, say whatever the fuck you want about me. Be my guest. I'm not going to change your mind anyway, so I'm going to tell you what I really think. That's what I mean. I care about all of the shows I'm involved in, period. And it's probably a flaw on how much I spend on work versus personal. But that's what I mean by I don't care. We were comfortable catching shit for doing it. And we also knew that other people were saying opposite things than us. I remember having Ray Hartman on. Mm-hmm. Ray Hartman, to me, was the one, I mean, outside of, but our thing wasn't like, they're moving. It wasn't that. He was just like, yeah, and his thing was more of a response to Bernie Miklasz, who was specifically calling him, I think, Chicken Little. I think that's what that was about. And then Ray, and so that was at a time, even though, God, 10 years ago, you feel like it was political detente versus now in 2014 and 2015 when we would have him on. And you had people who go like, well, fuck him, he's liberal. But then like, well, fuck him, he's liberal, but I think he's right. Or fuck him, he's liberal, but I appreciate him taking a stand, even if he knows it's not going to be popular. That was an intriguing part of that. I'd be curious, like if, I mean, it's always, I'm going to buck Swope by default, but like if somebody dug that up, and I know Swope did a hell of a Swope's pickups on it, really but like from the show standpoint, like talking with the people on the show and then hearing some of the clips. I mean, I, of course, was there with Doug and the Cat and producer Joe and Sea Monster, but how that, you know, it was not like they're moving and we're dead certain. We just know it's real and it needs to be talked about. And I remember the late Brian Burwell and Joe Strauss doing a show live from Over Under, which is still open on Washington Avenue.
Really?
By the Dome, yeah.
Is that by Sidebar? Was Sidebar
it's about 3 blocks probably east.
Sidebar no longer there, right?
Sidebar no longer. That's right across the street from where I lived in Grace Lofts above Flannery's.
Gotcha.
And so Strauss and Burwell were doing a live show for their show, Afternoon Drive. And I remember they kind of like had this, they were kind of like whispering to each other. And one of them had just gotten off the phone, I think Burwell probably, and going, you know, and I could tell like there was, you know, a commotion, for lack of a better term, even though it was just, you know, 4 or 5 of us standing around before the show started. And I go, what's going on? I go, well, we're catching a lot of crap from some places about where we are on this Rams thing, but Stan just bought Hollywood Park. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, proof's in the pudding.
It's like, it kind of felt like in All the President's Men, you're like, it just kept
deep throat.
But it depended on it's like politics now. It depends on where you're getting your news, what your opinion was.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Because some people were saying one thing, and I don't. And by the way, let me make this clear too. Just like how we were handling it on our show, we weren't saying they were going to move because we wanted them to move. Fuck no. Just that's what our opinion was. Yeah. Or if things changed and we got different information, because sometimes it changed, and. You know, I guess if you're doing an autopsy on something that at this point now is nearly a decade old, I mean, it's 8 years ago, you know, whether or not St. Louis is really building the building. I mean, that was one thing I remember talking to Demoff about. He's like, I go, what do you make of National Rent-to-Own, or whatever the fuck it was, National Rent-a-Car? Being the sponsor, he goes, you might as well put Inside STL as a sponsor. The building's never going to happen anyway. He goes, if anything, pretty smart on National's part because they're going to get free advertising for a little bit, but it's the building's never going to happen.
Right.
You know, and I mean, it was just very, and I'm just like, meanwhile, you know, we're going to break down like the wide receivers. I'm like, how can how can you talk about that part when this monster thing that is going to impact generations of St. Louis sports fans is taking place, and I'm hosting a morning drive show? I mean, it would be irresponsible to not discuss it. So that included off-the-record conversations.
Yeah, and going back from a listener's perspective, because I remember listening to a lot of that, it wasn't like you guys were like playing out the case for why the Rams are going to move. You were doing an objective journalism where you're presenting the information you know about the Rams possibly moving, and then St. Louis's efforts to keep the Rams here. It was totally like you guys, as information came in, you would report on it, discuss it, get guests on to discuss it. It wasn't like the Rams are moving and this is a certain
because we didn't know.
Prove it.
Even on the day of the vote, on the day of the vote, we were hopeful, for real. Now, with that said, a week before that vote, Kevin had called me at around 11 o'clock St. Louis time or New York time. He was in New York. And he didn't say, it is going to be the Rams and Chargers. But it was a 20-minute conversation. We didn't have kids at the time, so I'm up in the bedroom with my wife, just walking around while she's getting ready for bed. And I remember getting on the phone going, son of a bitch, it's going to be the Rams and Chargers. And it wasn't like he said that. I could just see how it was aligning. They didn't want Mark Davis there. They didn't want to leave Spanos behind. And Kroenke had the money to build it on his own privately. It was easy to go, okay, they haven't read the verdict, but I've seen the evidence. And this isn't like I don't know how many times I said, but I mean, I paid my own money to go to Oakland, San Diego, Inglewood, Carson. I'm saying Las Vegas, but there was no Las Vegas at the time, and all those the town halls, which were all bullshit, but they had to do them part of the NFL bylaws. It wasn't real. And the thing that was most, if I want to circle something that was it had smoking gun more than anything, and this isn't the byproduct of an off the record, this is just being, I guess, on top of it. But if you were doing this doesn't mean I'm so smart. It was just, I'm following this. And that is after Mayor James T. Butts of Inglewood, who I believe is still the mayor, won re-election. And I don't know what year it was. I think it was probably 14. That would line up the most, because I could recall being at 920. And we were there in 13, 14, and 15. And so in November of those years. And I remember, and this is a listener. Listener deserves the credit for, because why the fuck would I be reading the Inglewood Times? Mm-hmm. But there's a paper for Inglewood, which is, a small city in the monster that is the LA Empire. And of course, where they wound up building the stadium, and Mayor Butts gets reelected, and he's on a high from getting reelected. Plus, he's the mayor of Inglewood, and he's and he gets up on stage and he's bragging. And plus, tomorrow I have a meeting with the NFL. And somebody sends this to me. I read it on the show, and so help me, blood oath, whatever. Within an hour. The article's still there, but that quote was removed. And I'm like, if you don't see what's going on,
right.
And I know where it's coming from. There was a phone call placed from Earth City to the Inglewood Times or to Mayor Butts' office, and they said, take this motherfucking... So the fact that they took it out made it more deviant than what it may have been.
Yeah. Right.
He could have said, well, I'm meeting with him, Stan bought the, it doesn't mean anything. He's exploring his options.
Right.
But then when they took it away...
Draws attention to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so I go out there in, October of 2015, and I interview the mayor of San Diego. He's no longer the mayor of San Diego. Kevin, I can't recall what his name is. Met with the mayor of Carson. Wow, what a situation that one was. And then I'm supposed to meet with Mayor Butts, who's giving me a tour of where SoFi Stadium is now built.
Yeah.
And Mayor Butts set up through his office the night before, or with 48 hours before. I'm already in California. I think I'm up in Oakland at this time for their town hall, I think. I don't know, either San Diego. I don't know, either way, I'm in California, and Mayor Butts is not available. He's on this, essentially the Metrolink of LA board. And I go, okay, well, how about tomorrow? I'm going to be in Los Angeles for another day. And she gets back to me and says, oh, he won't be available tomorrow either. And I'm like, okay, now I know exactly what hand you're on.
Yep.
Actually, I'm going to be here, as it turns out, family out here. Family out here. I'm going to be here for the next week, and I can meet at any time, at any hour. You just tell me when. No further communication. It was, and this stuff's easy. And so once you do that, and that was I think the mistake during that time that I made was I gave them credit for being playing hey, Kevin's an Ivy League guy. Kroenke, I don't know, but either way, he's got advisors who are all Ivy League guys, and these guys are playing at a level that we simple folk in the Midwest can't possibly relate to. And it wasn't that. It essentially was what we thought it was, and it wasn't brilliant. It was just forced through. It was just fuck you. We're going to do this. We're going to be brave. And then the morning after the vote, they're on, Sam Farmer, LA Times, is on a plane with Kroenke and Demoff, essentially telling them how they committed the crime.
Yeah.
Which was, of course, used against them and played a role in the hashtag slaying of the dragon. And so I gave them credit mistakenly for operating at this, we can't possibly comprehend what's going on, when in reality it's just no, fuck you, we're doing it. What are you going to do?
Right.
That's actually how the murders were committed, if you want to call them that.
Right. Ugh, what a time.
Yeah. A lot of activity going on here today in the YouTube chat. I missed the start of today's QFTA, but how did this transition from MFMs to Rams? Welcome to QFTA.
Yeah.
You never know. The answer to that is we had an email asking about Off the Record and how this person didn't like Off the Record. And I'm telling you, listen, my official position on Off the Record is it's used for good and it's used for bad. Oftentimes, you'll see Derek Gould, Gabe DeArmond, whomever, catching hell for a national reporter breaking a story before them. Off the record leaks of coaching hires, coaching fires, free agent signings are currency.
Yeah.
You write something good for me or you do me a favor, I'll make sure that I actually can see it going on right now locally. Right. I won't, but I mean, I recognize it, and I think it's not. By the way, this isn't like an off the record. I know something you don't know. I don't know it, but I'm very confident when it comes to this team, this person's going to have it, and when it comes to this team, this person's going to have it. It's but again, this is what I do for a living. It's not necessarily a skill that is that great to have. Kind of like recognizing Diora Baird as a future star if she chooses to be, Jackson. But yeah, that's the currency. But Pete Thamel's the biggest reporter right now in college football, I think. You have Woj in the NBA competing with Shams. And then you have, Rosenthal and Heyman and
Morosi.
But then Morosi got burned. Passan, definitely.
Yeah.
And so it's currency.
Yeah.
And that's the game. Yeah. So that stuff, that to me can be used to manipulate. Okay, you don't write this, then I'm going to pass it off to
whoever,
your competitor in the game. That's the thing about it. And it's
nasty.
It is.
It can get nasty.
It is.
It's transactional.
It's transactional. That's a perfect way to describe it.
Can get very
off the record, like for example, the interview I really want to do right now is Bill DeWitt III. But if he said, "Hey, I can't do it right now," and I'd go, "Okay, cool. Do you mind if we talk? Because I want to get an idea. And if you can't say things, you can't say things. I just want to have an idea of what are you guys thinking on this television thing? Not because I'm I want to be able to say. I don't fucking care. I want to know. Right. So when I give my information / opinions, I know that I'm getting it right. That's the reasoning. Because again, the priority has to me is always being honest with your audience. I almost don't even know what else matters. I mean, if you have a boss, you have to be making the money.
Right.
So that's where you can get into where you become a theater guy, and you're WWEing, and it's just I got to give a take. I don't really believe in it, so I'm gonna say a bunch of shit that I don't mean, but then it's going to get attention. Right. What did you call it today on
engagement farming?
Engagement farming.
If you want to do some engagement farming, you tweet out, "Would you rather have the MLS and UFL or the NFL back?" That's how you engagement farm.
So then what happened? And then Tommy walks in with a $10,000 check and says, "Nice job." Is that the way it works?
No. I guess it'll just stroke your ego that people are, your Twitter account's got a bunch of views and engagement clicks. But, some people like currency. Some people like ego strokes. Different strokes, different folks.
I'd like to do a deep dive on that. Because I don't understand that for the life of me.
Well, we talked about before we talked about Riggs, that relevancy is currency. And if you're...
But at Barstool, they're actually doing something with it. So it's part of a machine where it generates money. And I guess then if you're one of the people who want to become part of that, then you start doing it too.
Yeah, right. Everyone's got to start somewhere.
At the local level, when you're not affiliated with anybody, but you're doing that, what's the game? I'm asking. This isn't mocking it.
I don't,
because hey man, at 47 and with a wife and 2 kids, it's just not. I don't look at a lot of the stuff. I don't care about it, but I know that it's there, and I know you don't do it, but you are more active with it. So I'm trying to understand what the angle is. For real, what is the angle?
I guess they're you could work out a way if you're part of the Twitter program where you can get paid from it, engagement can get you paid.
Do you have any idea what kind of dollars we're talking?
I don't know about the numbers. I know that you can get paid for Twitter, so there is always the out on that side of it. But also, I guess you could say the more people coming to your profile, the more views you get, the more followers you get based on it, can help you out in the long run. That's always the excuse they use. I think in reality, it's pretty look at me, but
yeah.
But there's always going to be an out. You can always explain your way out of it.
like, I don't think, and this is absolutely stereotyping, I feel like everybody, Will Leach wrote a column about this a couple of years ago. There comes a time in your life where you no longer want to be the cool guy on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of age out of it.
Right.
But there were times for, I'm not saying I was this, but like I would never write some of the shit that occasionally comes up in my Facebook memories. I'll see it and I'll go, oh my fucking God.
Yeah, Facebook got to get rid of that.
The fuck was that? You know? And I go, who was that asshole? You know? Right. I mean, what in the fuck? So now, if you're now like, let's say you're my age or older, and you're not necessarily like, hey, I'm at the titty bar, you know, and it's 6 a.m.
Right.
Some of my stuff. But like, you're like going after people. I mean, things haven't worked out.
You probably won't be so public with
unless you are somehow monetizing it.
Right.
I don't see a like, no, he's making, you know, $500,000 a year and has a wife and 3 children and, you know,
right.
And they spend their, you know, winters in Arizona and summers in Idaho.
Sure.
But he's really angry on Facebook.
Yeah, well, sometimes, you know, they say sometimes money can't buy happiness. There's some other things wrong in your life.
But do you agree with? You see what I'm saying? I'm like, there's a psychology that is circumstantial, environmental that leads to being a fuck on social media.
Yeah, one way or another. It might not necessarily
in your 20s, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't think you have that awareness. Like, I look back on, and some of the shit's in my 30s. And I go, oh, God. Like, it's just like, oh, fuck that guy. Like, when I hear morning grind clips, and I'm just like, oh, God, Martin the Catch just, like, fucking had me fired, you know? Right. Fuck that guy. And it's me, and I'm still saying, fuck that guy.
Well, the thing, like, when you talk 20s is, that's, like, my age range, is we've grown up with all of this stuff.
Yeah,
we've grown up with social media, so it's a little different. Like,
but it's still rarely, if I get an you know, that's somebody who's in their 20s.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's rogues out there for sure.
Dog avatars, scripture passages.
But like the thing on the Will Leach thing is like we're still kind of in the infancy of the internet age. Like things are only going to get deeper and deeper as we go about. So like I don't know.
But there's a difference with like giving opinions and then trying to be like snarky guy.
Yeah.
You know, you're better than you know, but that's why people don't use their real names.
Right. But snark gets engagement. That's the thing, too.
But then if you're not using your real name, how does engagement lead to any return?
It doesn't.
Then what the fuck are we doing? For real?
Well, because you can do it. You can, like, it's an
But then you're filling a void of failure.
Or an outlet for your, you know, compressed rage or...
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a fucking septic tank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. Yeah.
Now I'm angrier than reported. Mr. Smith just said, my man, with a laughing emoji. Dave Matthews said, I still have open wounds over this. Hold on a second. I guess I see a bunch of percentages. There must have been a question. Percentage, St. Louis has an NFL team in the next 25 years.
0 an option?
I mean, yeah, I see these like 2%, 0.5%.
Yeah, it's probably
I will go 10%. Mr. Smith said, I like your positivity, Dave. Droid effects, 0.001%. I don't know. I'll lay out a scenario for you that I'm not by any means saying. Here's a likely. Because of, it's something we talked a little bit about with James Carlton. I rarely do this. You know, and this is, I want to make it clear. This is like, well, of course, I was reading the Wall Street Journal. I read, you know, your links are usually New York Post, The Athletic, Front Office Sports, awful announcing. But I was reading in the front page of the Wall Street Journal yesterday was how some states and insurance companies are just not doing business there anymore. Can't do it. Can't afford to. And so I sent the link, and it was on the front page. So it's not like I was reading deep into my portfolio and analyzing my move for the day before I came in here and told dick jokes. And I sent it to James Carlton, and I said, what do you think of this? Not because I'm like, hey, this is your industry. What do you think? You know, I'm like, I wanted to know if he thought it was an accurate representation of the state of insurance, albeit it was talking more about Florida and California. And then he goes, hey, let me give you a call here in a couple hours. I want to talk. I'm like, oh, God bless America. And then we had a good conversation about it. That was done because I wanted to have a better understanding, not because he's a sponsor, my insurance agent. I just wanted to have a better understanding. And to me, but Wall Street Journal isn't like above and beyond going clickbaitish themselves. And all of these are because
Print
they're
media.
all, that's the deal. They're all experiencing a decrease in revenues. And so it becomes a, let me grab your attention so you click game, which is gross. Yeah. So I can sit here and mock like the whomever, whatever age, trying to get engaged. Well, the corporations that own these publications are the ones that are more responsible for the poison than anybody. You know what I mean?
Oh, now we're getting somewhere, baby.
Oh, look at, all right.
Yeah.
I just got you. I wasn't intending to get you.
I mean, I don't mean to, I'm not going to like try to go like, Johnny left coast here on everybody, but like...
What's Johnny left coast mean? Does that mean you're on left?
Well, I mean, like if people want to be like, well, the government's corrupt, this, that, the third is corrupt. Who corrupts them? The corporations. That's
so,
the nature of capitalism.
but I honestly, like, I'm not doing the like cowardly with both sides.
Right.
But I mean, I see the game.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who started it. It doesn't really fucking matter. Personally, I think Fox News and Clinton and the blowjob was probably the beginning of it. I'm sure people who are conservative would say it was Fox News was a response to feeling like CNN was liberal. I have no idea. That's my opinion. You may disagree. That's completely fine. It's wonderful. Then I've oftentimes made this observation, and it's when I kind of go, okay, what's going on here? CNN would write about Sarah Palin like for a year or two after the 2008 election. I'm going, what in the fuck? I bet. Name Hillary Clinton's running mate from 2016.
Hillary Clinton's running mate from 2016.
I'm making sure I'm right, by the way.
Boy, 2016. It wasn't Biden, was it?
No, but if I said who is, I mean, I have obviously ruined it because I've already brought up Sarah Palin. You remember that with the losing party, running mate. Do you remember who Mitt Romney's was?
Paul Ryan.
Nicely done. 2016, Tim Kaine.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Who was 2016? Who was Hillary Clinton's running mate?
Tim Kaine.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying why would Mitt Romney be running?
No, you already said Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
Who was 2012.
Right. Sorry.
Why do I bring this up? How do we go from MFMs to this? I bring it up because they saw in 2008 and 9 and 10 that you put a Sarah Palin headline out there and it's going to get engagement. Mm-hmm. Fox News, targeting plenty of the racism undercurrent of the Barack Obama presidency, goes, oh, gee, we can do this. Fuck, this is Obama all the time.
Right.
Then CNN gets Donald Trump in 2016. Holy shit, now it'll be Donald Trump all the time.
Right.
So this isn't both sides do it so I can, pierce my clit ring through you. This is giving you an honest observation that I see that this is just the way that the game is played. And it is so manipulative.
Right.
So it is truly, take your pick of whatever prism that's going to manipulate. And then it's just going to go into the bubble of feeding. And so then when you talk with somebody who may have a different perspective, we're not necessarily debating opinion. We're debating what is true and what is false. And like I said, I think it started in the 1990s, but there might be people who are older than me go, oh my God, it started in the, whenever. And I don't know. And that might be why I get so engaged now in this JFK thing, because I'm going, holy shit, it's so eye-opening as to that went on then, and then you see the levels that things may have gone to, and I go, holy shit. Now, that doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm now, dropping by Pat McAfee's show and espousing opinions. I'm just saying it's been eye-opening. But I've been observing this before I've had this platform, that in particular the Palin one, who, for the record, to me is the godfather of mainstreaming, ignorance. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure John McCain hates that he welcomed that into the arena. And if he could have a putt back, that would be the one he'd want back. But that's what I think. And then it became a business model.
Right.
And not only a business model, but a whole platform.
Right. And then I think, while CNN and Fox News are the lightning rods, the public-facing things that draw the ire, you got to look who's pulling the strings, and that's News Corp owns Fox, and I don't know the parent company for CNN, but it all comes from the top. Like CNN and Fox take the hits for it, and they get their CNN's the fake news, Fox fake news. But this is all direct. Like, I bet if you ask the news directors at all these places, are like, you really liking doing all this stuff? They'd probably be like, well, this is just direct from the top, man. This is what I do.
I don't know. And that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how we unlearn. I don't know how it. I'm open to it. I used to theorize back when I was probably talking with Gangster Pete or maybe even Sea Monster. Go, something is going to cause it to bottom out, and then because of this travesty, it will bring people together. And now I'm honestly not sure that is the case. Hence, my winter is coming. Yeah. I mean, we are usually at this time, 2020. Because at this time, 2020, the focal point was Kobe Bryant having passed. It wasn't. It wasn't what was about to happen in 2 months, or even that summer, or the election. That was where people were. But it was certainly more. I mean, Iowa is coming up, and New Hampshire is coming up, and it's just like, well, there's nothing really to discuss. It's Trump and Biden, and yet you have what could very well be, I mean, holy shit, on the horizon. I don't know if people don't talk about it because they're not aware of it, or I don't know if people don't talk about it because they don't want to talk about it because it's like talking about death, or I don't know if people don't talk about it because they just don't, or they're so trained now not to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, holy shit, this isn't far off.
No.
This is coming this year.
Yeah, I think people just have such a nasty taste in their mouth from the last go around that they're like, fuck, it's already like coming back. It's like, well, we'll talk about it when we have to talk about that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Less so about like the unawareness. I think people are painfully aware. I just don't think they're in a headspace right now to.
They're just hopeful that somehow, two different guys emerge or ladies emerge, and
well, don't put your chips in that basket. I'll tell you that much.
All right, I said I'd get to 3. Let me get to the final one here, Jackson. Hello. In December of 2022, I wrote out goals for 2023 for the first time in years. You ever do that? You probably never do that. That's something I think you would do when you're a little older. Last week, I took stock of which ones I met and didn't, and felt pulled to post about it on social media. I resisted the urge, but I felt odd that I was feeling a pull to post a hey, look at me kind of post. Have you or Jackson recently felt any quote-unquote pulls to post on social media? If not, is there a memory you have of the last time you felt you, quote, had or should post something on social media? P.S. I have yet to watch Social Dilemma on Netflix, but I assume this sort of thing is part of that documentary/movie. Thanks. That's from R in the Lou. Jackson, I'll yield the floor to you.
So when he says, like, just post anything on social media, I heard poll in there.
A poll, as in not like a Gallup poll, but a poll, like you feel like you're
okay.
pulled to do it.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think the last time I posted on Instagram, I had an ace, I had a hole-in-one, and yeah, that was nothing but a brag. I was bragging on social media. I am aware of what I was doing, but
it's interesting to me that for whatever reason, I'm more comfortable with that one than like the travel brags. And the travel brag, and I don't know why. It's kind of like, let's delve into why the MMF is shamed if you're the F, but the MFF is celebrated if you're the M. Because you're right, it is a brag, but the travel brag, and it's not even necessarily the original post, it's the, oh, I love it there. Oh, while you're there, you've got it, kind of like letting you know, even though nobody asked, that you've been there too.
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't, post as it is anyway now, but if I were to, and I were to post something from Take Your Pick of whatever, and somebody dropped by with that, and I barely know them, but they're, I just run around, fuck off. Thank you for the suggestion. Fuck off.
Right. Because it's done.
Because I know what it is.
Yeah, under the
and I'm just like, just fuck off. Right. You can DM me.
Right.
Fuck off. You gotta let everybody know you've been there too. Fuck off. Right. I just don't need it. Because I'm like, it's the Chas Palmentary that I use almost every podcast. Now I know that you're not somebody I would really want to. So I see those, and I don't know why that bothers me, but like you with a hole-in-one doesn't bother me. I don't know, because that's like
one's an accomplishment. One is like you took a vacation or had dinner, like so the rest of the world. But again, like an accomplishment.
I don't know. I mean, he's really psycho. I mean, for me, I got some weird stuff with my family, my kids, and it was like, what am I doing anyway?
Juice
Like, why am
squeeze.
Yeah, no brainer. And my wife barely does now too, and she's kind of like, this sucks because I mean, she's, doesn't do this shit for a living, but she goes, she was using it as an archive for our family, which I'm sure plenty of people do and aren't like looking to, quote unquote brag.
Right.
So then what people can do is just like create like a private profile.
Right.
If you really wanted to do that. But he's kind of said R in the Lou is psychoanalyzing the brag element of social media. Have you or Jackson felt any recent pulls to post on social media? I hit retweet when Jackson tweets stuff out. I'll use the GIF of the LSU mom with the get the gat. Otherwise, it's a place like that's inviting like people who they know my name, they know who I am, but yet they're going to be able to hide behind fake names to like snipe at me. And I would never hang out with these people, nor do I value what they have to say anyway. So why would I invite that into my life? It's a very A plus B equals C move, and it's not like, but I'm in a different spot. And then when you bring in like posting family pictures, in a way it's unfortunate because you're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah,
because for the most part, it's just like, I haven't seen this person in a while, and they're private citizens. They don't do this dumb shit. So I don't, and most people are like, oh my, I didn't even know you had 2 kids now. I mean, because they look at my profile picture, it's a pregnant wife from like December of 21, I guess. But I don't feel any pull. I've talked to you before, I think. I said that I had somebody who's an executive saying that I'm making a mistake by disengage, or have made a mistake by disengaging from social media. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I just would want to do it differently than like I call it like bait. Like, yeah, okay, if you're going to say something, occasionally be critical. Don't just jerk people off. But hey, if that's the way you want to go about it, it's your account. Do what you want to do. I just think it kind of becomes like Fox News, MSNBC. You're giving people all this, oh, it's so great that we have the XFL. I'm like, I mean, I guess, but we have the XFL because we lost the NFL, and that's not a great thing.
Right.
And so some people just don't want to hear what I consider to be honest, they consider to be negative. Or sometimes I consider to be honest and they consider to be overly positive.
Sure.
Like, I mean, in late September, we did a podcast, the two of us, Why Not Missouri? They were a 3-0 team getting ready to play Memphis, if I'm not mistaken.
Why not?
Yeah, and why not? And they finished number 8 in the country. And I'm kind of looking at this. I think they might be really good. Oh, fucking hope. And it's fine. Like I said, you get to a point where you're just like, okay, that's the cost of doing what we do. But I don't feel the need to like write that out on Twitter or Facebook, or because it's just, it becomes like a place for people to like, I'll show him. And then, oh man, you see what you got lit up in the comments. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I don't care. But if you don't sit in this chair, you wouldn't think that you don't care. I think I said that right. Like, you wouldn't believe that I don't care.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Because you're not used to having that. And by the way, I'm jealous of those who don't deal with it. I say to my friends who have money, but nobody really knows who they are, I go, my God, what I wouldn't do. But at the same time, I know there's some people just want to be famous, And
there's that. You got to factor that in.
Oh my God, give me privacy and wealth and preferably warm weather. And that's it. But yeah, I have no interest in like arguing with. Now, if somebody really, like, when I know it's like a good faith, give me a good faith. I think I said this before we started. I think that if I could have like a social media place where I could talk with people and it was like a good faith back and forth. Oh, give me that all day.
Public names. Yeah, that's a key.
Oh, give me that all day.
Right. I think on Twitter specifically, because I'll get into Instagram and Facebook in just a moment here, but on Twitter specifically for us, more so you, but us, anyone of us who work especially in radio, like, why do something on Twitter where you're limited to 280 characters without vocal context, without the ability to kind of rehash or rediscuss things or have an honest conversation with people that you like, aka your co-hosts, when you have that platform. You know, like if you have a take that you actually are passionate about, why would you say it on Twitter where you're inviting in anonymous burners and people not having good faith conversations when you can have as many characters as you want with vocal context on the radio? So for that, it's understandable because you have an outlet for such opinions. Facebook and Instagram, it's tough to say that anything posted is not a brag, but it's okay sometimes to brag. Sometimes there's things worth bragging for. And if you want to post on Instagram and Facebook, that's cool. As someone who consumes Instagram, TikTok, Facebook to a very minor extent, it's a...
Really? You don't... I consume TikTok a hell of a lot.
Oh, me too. I'm saying Facebook. Facebook, I don't consume that much. Facebook, I don't consume that much. It's the baby in the bathwater thing. I love a lot of stuff on Instagram and TikTok. So if you love most of it, you're going to have to put up with the, you know, fitness pictures of their Apple Watch or my office
have so
for the
many
day.
people on mute. I just like, okay.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
Certainly with Instagram more so because
you
those
worked out.
Yeah.
There you go. The only one I put up with is Ellery's
baby. And so like it's a baby in the bathwater thing. Like, yeah, there's a lot of bullshit on Instagram and TikTok. There's also a lot of great shit on there. That is all also under the guise of bragging. Like, but you know, sometimes things.
Yeah, but
are
on TikTok, my algorithm is
curated perfectly.
Yeah,
me too.
But I do still get occasionally the guy who works out a lot who's got it all figured out and yells at me.
The key is
about
swipe
not
as
being a
fast as
billionaire.
you can.
I know. So help me. That's like when I see like a mom and a daughter start dancing. I go fuck.
Right. So because you can't let the algorithm think that you like that.
Right.
And
that's exactly what it becomes a quest.
Yeah. God help you if you search for it. That's all you'll get.
Mom and daughter doing a dance.
If you like tap on one of their profiles and look at a couple of their videos, your feed is now going to be full of landmines left and right.
Don Pepe wants to know what's the email address to mail in questions. Great question, Don Pepe. T. McKernan at InsideSTL.com. TMCKERNAN at InsideSTL.com. Brian Henshin, Colts beat writer, writes, nothing wrong, this is in reference to R in the Lou, nothing wrong with being proud about something like year-end or major milestones, accomplishments, and letting folks know about it. I think there's a difference between that and the travel brags. That's from Brian Henshin.
Yeah, there is like being, like if you're aware that what you're doing is a brag, then, you know, at least there is that awareness. If you're doing it under, it's like the idea of like, well, I'm better than you or something like that, or like I'm in the Bahamas in February while you're stuck at the office, loser.
Right.
That's
so so when we were down in Jupiter for 6 months, I was at peak happiness.
Right.
I mean, as I've said before, the picture of me and my son going fishing is still on my nightstand, and I don't know when it'll leave. Because it's like that's his hat. My wife saw us walking across the golf course to go fish, and I'm just like, oh my God. And I didn't know we were going to be there for another 6 months at that time, but holy shit, that's it. That's my peak happiness, and that's why it's there. It's also serving as a motivator. And I would just, you know, we'd be out on the golf course, and he was 3, I guess, at the time. We didn't have another child at the time, just happy. And so I would just like something like, and we ran into fucking huge alligators, and people would be enamored by that. But then as time wore on, I became aware that some viewed it as like a brag of, oh, you're on a golf course. Oh, you're in, you know, South Florida, not the Panhandle or, you know, whatever other, you know, Orlando-ish, you know, like you're in, you know, and I'm like, God, I know that if anything, I am, because we had the whole relatable issue with a passive-aggressive sponsor, that I spent time in Jupiter in 2018. That became a thing I had to have a meeting about.
I'm not even aware of this situation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That sounds fucking typical, but sounds like just throw another log on the fire.
Yep.
Doesn't surprise me by any means.
Yep.
I won't say, obviously, here because we're live, but I bet I could take a guess.
Who said it? That'd be impressive if you could go ahead and text it to me.
All right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're playing little guessing games amongst each other. Now we're going to start flirting. Pass me a note, and I'll text you.
I'm going to guess
I
2
like
guesses.
I would be really surprised if you get this. Maybe, because you know other history. But either way, and if I do an impression, then it'll give some things away. But either way, I was told, you know, by going to spring training and spending time that I was being unrelatable. And I'm like, God, I just want to go down there. Yeah, I don't know what to say. And, you know, when I was negotiating my deal, I knew that we liked going down there, and I wanted to have that flexibility. Should I apologize? But that is why, and I don't know, I really want to talk to this person. There was a person, and I was giving it away now, who did not spend the winters in St. Louis, but we were not, that was not said. This person was astute enough to realize that it would have some form, not from everybody. Most people, have their own lives that they give a shit about, but would potentially alienate a part of his audience. Kind of like when people say, don't talk politics, don't talk religion. There's no upside. And so, yeah, that was the thing. So in 2021, I'm like, yeah, these aren't like, hey, here's me and my wife on the water, take a look at it was never that. It was like just dumb shit out on the golf course with, being happy with my son.
Right.
But that was something that I'm like, oh, that apparently is not. And again, you're talking about like 1 out of 1,000 people who see it. But then once you have that, then it becomes, then you take a step back and go, these are my children, or that this is my child at the time. Why in the fuck am I even, and that's why when I talk to Riz, and I think he calls them the boy and the girl, and they're both older. I mean, not like super old, but they're older. And I'm like, yeah, I should have done that from the outset. But that was, and he did, to his credit. I mean, that's sharp. That's a sharp play. It's like somebody betting an under. I go, ooh, probably not something that was easy to do, but you won. Nicely done. That was astute. So I think about that. So for you, because you are going to be a father within 3 years, that's where the bet is, just a little heads up. Yeah. So that for me is the main reason why I'm on Instagram all the time, hoping that Ella Reese will stop showing me her fucking Apple Watch.
Right. Get in the studio.
Thank you.
Get some work in.
It's time.
Yes.
I mean, we all have enjoyed the holidays, but Ella, let's go.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
There's money to be made.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm not posting. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, I don't know if my younger son has been on social media.
Oh, I like that.
Maybe when he was born.
Gotcha.
But yeah, now that I think about it, I think that might be the case. Because hell, like I said, my Facebook profile is my wife 8 months pregnant.
Yeah. So you're going on 2 years.
I think I still occasionally will post stuff, but not that stuff, not the family stuff.
Right. Respectful. That's what.
You tip of the cap. You were right.
Yeah, nailed it.
God. Yeah, and your guesses were both.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank
Tip
you.
of the cap.
Thank you.
Please get Demoff for a podcast someday so we can finally prove he was behind Ramsers. I will say I'm about as confident as I can be without being certain that he was. I think that's a question. I mean, getting Kevin Demoff on would be a pretty big deal.
That would be awesome.
I got to now that we have this set up for remote sound stories. If I could get, not that it's like a tough, I'm not saying it's like easy, but if I could get a conversation with Bill DeWitt III, we would be able to, like, I don't have to say, hey, can you come out to Creve Coeur?
Come to you.
Yeah, I went down to his office to do one. I don't know if we did video or not for that. Nick Yale, remember the great Nick Yale? Or you didn't cross paths with him, though.
I had conversaons with him afterwards about questions
really
about
good
stuff.
guy.
Yeah, he's been really cool to me. He's reached
really
out
good
on
guy.
his own before. He's a good dude. He's out in Vegas, right?
Yeah. I think he might have shot that interview. And then I want to use TikTok more.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
For TMA stuff and for this stuff.
Right idea.
Okay. Yeah.
Vertical videos, baby. Vertical videos.
Is that right? What's that? I don't know when I say that. I'm just saying I know that's the play. We're just leaving so much out there.
If you don't have to,
and this is because you and I talked off the air, but I just am like, we've got 3 shows that have followings, and it's like we don't really do shit social media wise. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say it bothers me, but I am so obsessed with optimizing that part. Frustrates me. It's like if I knew I could be a scratch golfer, if I just did this and that, this and this, I would do it.
It would get done. Right?
Yeah, you're damn right I would. But that's fucking. It also might just be they're not going to pay anymore. But I'm like, I don't really care. It's not about being paid. It's about optimize. This is not always going to be there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You got to run. You got to run
Absolutely,
the plays to find
man.
out if they work.
Yeah, you better believe it. And I feel like we got so many. But you're doing. I noticed that you're doing a bunch of shit more
during the show.
Yeah. You did that with the Cardinal conversation.
Cardinal and then Cottleville versus Webster.
How did that even happen today?
It's like asking.
There's no way if you're like seriously looking at Cottleville, there's no way you're also looking at Webster Groves. And if you're seriously looking at Webster Groves, there's no way you're looking at Cottleville. Like the Venn diagram is like the beginning of Balloon Party and TMA when we first started there.
Yeah, right.
They're just like in different parts of the solar system.
Yeah, that's apt. Yeah,
and it was interesting that there were a bunch of people shitting on Webster Groves, but like nobody from Webster Groves was shitting on Cottleville. People from non-Webster Groves places were shitting on Cottleville. So what's that about?
Right. I don't know how we got onto that today, but I'm sure glad we did because that's let's get a Stage a little municipality war.
We had one. All right. I've just received another threesome email. I mean, these are
coming in often, right?
Yeah. I guess this is what daily QFTA provides.
I said it would invoke more.
It has. It absolutely has. All right, Jackson. We went an hour and 21 minutes.
Hour 29.
I really wasn't planning on this, but we had 3 emails.
Yeah.
Send them in. I mean, any topic.
That was a fast hour and a half. I did not feel like we just went an hour and a half. It went by fast.
2.5x balloon parties. T. McKernan at InsideSTL.com is where you can send yours in. We will not be on at 11:15 tomorrow. I have a lunch with the great Jeff Lotman. I feel like I think I have a sound story on Thursday, and I just didn't know it. Oh, I do?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And then we have a sales meeting on Friday now. It got moved from today because we wouldn't have had today. How about that? Yeah. But I'm still wanting to do this every day. I don't know. Friday, I don't know.
Friday might be tough for me. I got a jet.
What you got going on? Oh, you're going to Memphis.
Yeah, I got a jet out to Memphis after.
Well, maybe we'll do it.
Hey, listen, if you can get it going.
So you won't be at the sales meeting?
I mean, I can stay till like 12:30.
No.
I can be here till like 12:30. But
are you flying?
No, driving. Home.
You and your brother?
Me and my brother. Yep. Jaws out for the season, unfortunately. But
he has a slap tear.
Yeah. Feel terrible for him. But
I'm still here every day. Jaws out. What does that say?
Truer words haven't been said.
Thank you.
But, I mean, Clippers on Friday, that's 4 Hall of Famers confirmed and get to possibly see Kobe Brown play. So
you're happy about it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're just going to an NBA game is happiness and hanging out. It's my brother's birthday on Friday.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we're trying to do it around his birthday.
He will be 34.
You'll be 36.
I knew it was in that range.
Like 10 years older than me.
And you turned 26 in March.
Yep.
March 13th.
Nailed it. Look at you. This guy.
Yeah,
He's got a memory.
No, it's exciting. It's exciting to be me.
It is.
When I go home and listen to the outfield, Your Love, 100 times.
I bet that song doesn't have the same oomph it once had. With
it is amazing. I'll tell you, those Facebook memories, they're cringy from like the shit that I used to write, like, oh, fuck this guy.
Right.
But then it's like, wow. I mean, and I can picture like my peers, going, the fuck, this guy's living a totally different, and I bet they were like, fuck off, what's going on?
Right.
Right. I mean, imagine, because you will be domesticated in a good way. And I'm not saying this, I'm mocking. I'm happy for you, I think, relatively soon. Mm-hmm. But you will have a friend who will have the Arrested Development that I have. And maybe you can pick him out. Maybe you already know it's Herb.
No, Herb, you'll have been domesticated.
And they'll be on whatever app it is at that time here in a decade. And you'll have like a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and you'll be going, I mean, in a way, I envy it, but this motherfucker has no idea what he's got coming, Or he's going to be single forever, which in a way might sound good. Mm-hmm. But, there comes a point, I think, in the single forever. I think, maybe I just watched Mark Maron's special. Have you watched Mark Maron's special?
No,
it's very, very good.
Yeah.
And he's like, I get lonely. He goes, but I don't think, you know what I'm missing? Kids.
It's really funny. Ryan Russillo, who's famously single, said once, it was a couple weeks ago, he said it was genius. He said, I would rather feel lonely than feel inconvenienced.
For me, I was like, this is great. This has been wonderful. But I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. I mean, what else? I don't know really what else there is for me at this point. I'm not saying I've done it all. I've fucked them all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just like, I'm kind of at peace with it. But we were told we couldn't have kids, so that's why we were later in the game. Which is always nice when somebody drops by and shits on me being an older parent. I'm like, well, we dealt with it. But I mean, like I said, it's part of doing what we do. Taste, whatever. It's fine. But I'm like, man, it would be nice. And then I have a child. I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. But we were out to dinner with my wife and her parents on Saturday. Paulie Bonos, I made reference to. And I'm like, oh, I would have been a terrible father at 25. Right. Terrible. Right. At least I think I would have been. And they go, really? And I go, oh my God, yeah. But I'm like, oh, you didn't know me. Thank God. You wouldn't be dining with me. You wouldn't have let your daughter talk to me when I was 25.
Right.
That wasn't necessarily a bad guy, but not a guy I would want to be around now. That's for sure. Just like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what caused what I think is an evolution. But yeah, but that person was not ready to be a parent. You, I think, are ready to be a parent. You might go, no, but I'm just telling you, it's not about anything other than, to me, your interest in it, number one, and you're in a way being a selfless person, because obviously it's a selfless job.
Right.
You know?
I'm going to give you an Ernest Hemingway quote, Tim, to just talk about your former self. I'm ripping this straight off of the film The Kingsman, but it's still a Hemingway quote that exists. Nobility is not being superior to your fellow man. True nobility comes from being superior to your former self. Shout out Ernest Hemingway, and shout out The Kingsman.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I'm not, I think you know this, when I'm shitting on me, in particular from the 90s and 2000s, I think St. Gabriel's got the best of me in the 80s. It's a dangerous shooting guards. Yeah, with the Thriller jacket. Yeah, that was the moment of maturity there. I'm not going, I'm so much better now. That's not it. I'm going, fuck, I was awful then.
Right.
Okay, there's a difference.
Not a commentary on yourself now.
It's a, wow, holy shit. Like, for real. I think about the Cat and Martin with that 2004, 2005, 2006. And there are moments that I know in the show, you know, and I'm just like, oh, like if I were Martin or the Cat, and we had a guy like that coming in, especially in a show like that, I think I probably would have done what we only had to do one time in the history of this show, and have a little intervention and go, hey.
Well. right.
This is the warning. And it's got to come to an end. Otherwise, we're just going to have to move on. And that's me looking at me.
Right.
And I, oh, fuck. You know, like, I mean, like, yeah, I'm divorced, but like, it's like this guy from 15, 16 years ago who is the one, and that's not to say, therefore I distance and I accept all the responsibility.
Right.
But it's like, that guy, fuck him, you know, and that was me. And I just, and you, by the way, will never feel that way. You will have things that you regret.
Sure.
I should have had anal and not done the 48 hours thing. You'll regret that. But as far as like, I'm looking at things more through the lens of like, asshole character shit. That's when you cringe and like just fuck.
Right. It's tough to like because I often talk about like people, as you may, like we romanticize the past. Like I feel like a lot of that goes on to a major extent. You know, like people are like talking about like, oh, this time was great, and time was like, well, if I point to this, that, and the other thing.
Oh, I agree with that.
Do you still think it's great?
Right.
You know,
yeah,
like
I agree with that. Nostalgia is quite a drug.
Right, but that's a complete like. It's a total dichotomy, a complete opposite side of the coin when you look back at your old self. Like, I don't think a lot of people romanticize their former self, which I think is healthy. I think evolving as a person is
Now,
healthy.
I just did a podcast last week sitting right across from you, and I said, you know what? I'm looking at me. I should have fucked a lot more.
Well, I mean, your appearance, like that would be, like
right.
I'm sure like Doug talks about he has the hair right now they had when he turned 25.
He does. He
like
has a bouffant.
Yeah, he does a little bouffant. You can look back on that and say, like, I looked better or that, but like, and you can look back at memories fondly, obviously, but like as a person, like, I think it's somewhat healthy to be like, I don't like the way I conducted myself in this situation or that situation.
So you think a lot of people do that or not a lot of people?
No, I think a lot of people do because
really?
They
right?
recognize former patterns that they no longer like, but that's part of the evolution of people.
My situation is different, and I guess those with social media also, so this is not exclusive and therefore not unique, so a lot of people could be doing this, like with the Facebook memories thing, but I have actual audio of it that I'll hear.
Right. Again, it's like the Twitter thing I brought up. It's a different situation.
And then, so when we will play some of those, and I go, oh God, like I'm so embarrassed by it.
Right.
I am so, it's not, that's it. There's no ulterior motive. It's just I hear it, and oh my God, you know, like when I saw the Little Rock clip of anchoring, like I didn't go, I'm embarrassed by that at all. If anything, I'm like, oh wow, I was actually decent looking, son of a bitch. I didn't even realize it. And that's that part that bothers me because then I really should have been doing more fucking. But I watch the sportscast. Go, oh shit, I was no good. Like I wasn't a good sportscaster. I was just reading really quickly with no inflection, and you know. That's what I think. But this, on the character thing, like when you hurt people because you were a shitbag, that doesn't go away with time. At least it doesn't for me. You know, and I guess maybe the recognition of that is what then leads to improvement. Doesn't mean it's good. It's just better than what I was.
Right.
Like you're always, I use you and then you get uncomfortable, but I mean like you're just a different guy, which is good for you. That you're just not going to have this stuff unless you like somehow start drinking a lot or doing a bunch of drugs, you know. I mean, I don't see that happening, you know, or getting up gambling or something. I have no fucking idea. It's just it's a good guy. That's why I'm saying, yeah, if you were to tell me in a year or two you're engaged and then she's pregnant in a year or two, I'd go, God bless. Yeah. Some 25-year-olds, I'd go, oh fuck. Yeah. Right. Not my problem at all, yeah. But this is gonna be a problem, right. and I will be surprised if it's not. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a difference. Let's see. Droid Effects says, I'd like to think I'm on the right path of not ruining my income by having a child. LOL. Droid Effects.
Yeah, it's different for everybody.
I'd slap the hell out of 20-year-old Don Peepee if I could. That's from Don Peepee. Mm-hmm. People are talking about when they had their first child. My buddy's uncle travels the world, and he's been single his entire life. No kids, no wife, nothing ever. He's living, in my opinion, the best possible life. That's from Droid Effects. And if that's Droid Effects, if that's your opinion of what is the best possible life, then you absolutely should not have, I mean, because, hey, a lot of people view it that way. It just depends on if you kind of know. And for me, it was a time thing. It was a time thing. Like the idea, as weird as it is like great as it would be to just go, oh, I'm going to go to Las Vegas this weekend and play in poker tournaments. Like it's just like a foreign concept to me. And then I did that for weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. Not weeks at a time, but like 10 days at a time.
Right.
I just, it doesn't sound good to me anymore. And I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, the grass is greener on the other side.
But I lived, it's not, grass is greener because you don't know what's on the other side. I
More
did
speaking
it.
the Droid Effects is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but to your situation.
But yeah, but you already know. You know, yeah. I mean, what sounds good to you in 5 years? You know, I mean, I'll lay that out because I did 30 was fucking around in Las Vegas and playing poker, you know,
yeah.
In the World Series, not just like playing in little 1-2 games, you know, sure. Playing in the main event. And that's what my life was. And, you know, my wife was by the pool and then we'd go out and my buddies were out there. And don't get me wrong, it was fucking great. It was. There wasn't a part of me that was going, oh, I wish we had kids. Mm-hmm. A part of me. I mean, my ex-wife and I hardly ever, for real, which tells you a lot, I guess, about me, talked about having kids. It may sound crazy. Now we weren't married a long time, but you know, I mean, that's where I was.
Right.
And I would imagine you are already, not saying that you're like, oh, I'm ready for kids now, but you won't be having your first kid like I did. I guess I was 39 or 40. Mm-hmm. You know.
Right.
It just isn't the way that'll work. Now, again, as I made reference to, part of that was infertility issues. Right. If we could have, we probably would have been 2012 or 13. Okay. But still, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. All right. Send emails in. People are doing it. That's wonderful. Team McKernan at InsideSTL.com. Thank you to CD Longo and Doug Biggs of Longo Biggs Studio sponsors here on the Tim McKernan Show. Thank you to James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, Mark Hanna of Evergreen Wealth Strategies, Jamie Burkhardt, Clayton Patterson, Peter Munganess, Ryan Seiberg at Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota. And thank you to Seth Goldcamp at Design Air Heating and Cooling. With this forecast coming, sweet mother of mercy, if you're ever having furnace issues, go to designairservice.com and work with the great Seth Goldcamp. We will be back. I just don't know what time. My goal is to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm in.
Okay.
Okay, catch me. I'm doing it. I'm ready to rock.
Okay. All right.
What I do, baby.
Okay. We're just going to be doing it with the outfield blaring in the background.
It's fine. I like that song.
See if you like it after 30 times.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Even though that's kind of how I listen to music. Like
on YouTube music videos?
No. If I like a song, I'll like
play 30 times in a row.
I'll like play it to death for like.
You and my 1-year-old need to.
Well, I'll probably only play it like one time on a car ride, but I'll play it like 20 consecutive car rides in a row. I don't know why that is. Like it's like I got like 2-song rotations.
I'm focused on looking for Ella Reese, Abigail Mack, and now I'm hoping that, what is her name again? Diora Baird.
Diora Baird
gets into the industry. Might be time for a Caden text today.
When was the last time one of those was fired?
That's a good question. Let's see what the exchange was. Because you're always really interesting. We see what we got.
So I read on her Wikipedia.
Oh, it was about Brianna.
Okay.
She was getting together for dinner with Brianna in L.A. Brianna, the teacher.
College,
yeah.
Well, proof's in the pudding on that one.
Let's see. I sent her the link. Oh, sent her the YouTube clip. This was October 19th. Can you put me in touch? We're already doing something with the Canadian teacher who was just in the news for the same thing.
Wow.
How about that? I didn't even know what the hell that is.
Autumn 2023. Great time for teachers.
It was. Big day for the faculty.
Yeah. During the OnlyFans stars.
So yeah, she was going to get together for lunch or dinner with her, and then Caden was sick. But I think they moved away. I mean, they're still in Southern California, but somewhere away from. I don't know. She calls it up in the mountains, but I have no idea what the fuck it is. Well, that Manuel. No, they're still in L.A. But that Manuel.
He's hung, right?
He really is.
Yeah.
That could be the title of this. What is the title of today's podcast?
I'll have to go back to get it verbatim. It's probably in the email that the guy sent. It was like, I want my partner to orgasm.
I think it was.
Yeah. And that's just a nice declarative statement.
I wonder what people think when these titles pop up.
There's like another day and Chucklehead Radio.
All right, we will be back. We won't be back tomorrow at 11:15. I have things to do. Jackson has things to do, but we will be back, and maybe it'll be in the afternoon. Hell, I don't know. Thank you for listening, watching. This has been the Tim McKernan Show from the Longo Big Studios on the Inside STL Podcast Network.